Neurons are classified on the basis of 4 structures and 3 functions. The first structure is the anaxonic neuron. When you put an A or an AN before a word, it means without. So this is a neuron that looks like it's without an axon. You can't distinguish the dendrites from the axon. All the processes look alike. These anaxonic neurons are not very well understood, but they are found in the brain in special sense organs. Again, those special senses are those senses in the head, such as smell, sight, taste, hearing, and so on. The second structural classification is the bipolar neuron, and this has nothing to do with bipolar disorder. This merely describes how many processes are coming off the cell body. So if you look at that cell body, you will see that an axon and a dendrite are coming off that cell body. These are small, and rare, but occur in special sense organs. The unipolar neuron, look at the cell body. You will see one process coming off the cell body. Although it does immediately split, there is just one process coming off the cell body, therefore it's unipolar. And the dendrites and axons are continuous here. The initial segment, where the action potential is initiated, is where the dendrites converge here. These unipolar are most of the sensory neurons in the peripheral nervous system, and they can be quite long. You may have a pain receptor in your toe, and that would have to bring the information all the way up to your spinal cord. Multipolar neurons is the fourth classification, and these are the ones we're most familiar with. They have 2 or more dendrites and a single axon, and these are the most common in the brain and spinal cord. All motor neurons to skeletal muscles are multipolar, and these also can be quite long. The functional classification includes 3 functions: sensory neurons, interneurons, and motor neurons. So we need to look at these sensory receptors. They're going to detect sensations in the body or outside the body. An interoceptor monitors internal organs such as the digestive tract, respiratory tract, and will detect changes due to pain, a stretch, deep pressure. Proprioceptors monitor position and movements of our skeletal muscles and joints, and exteroceptors monitor the outside world. Afferent fibers carry sensory information to the central nervous system. And the cell bodies are grouped together in the peripheral nervous system, and this grouping is called a ganglion. Sensory neurons are mostly unipolar neurons with cell bodies in sensory ganglia in the peripheral nervous system. So we have somatic as well as visceral sensory neurons. Somatic monitor the outside world and body position. Visceral neurons monitor internal conditions. Remember, afferent is incoming, that is from the PNS to the CNS. Interneurons are in the CNS, and these are the connectors between the sensory and the motor neurons. They're also responsible for higher functions such as memory and learning. Somatic motor neurons innervate. This may be a new word to you. Innervate means it sends the message to and controls the skeletal muscles. So the nervous information is going to the skeletal muscles. Somatic motor neurons innervate skeletal muscles and allow for conscious control of these muscles. The cell bodies lie in the central nervous system, and then the axon is going to extend within a peripheral nerve. Now, a nerve is very different from a neuron, just as a muscle is very different from a muscle fiber. A nerve is a bundle of axons, just the way a muscle is a bundle of fibers. The visceral motor neurons are part of the autonomic nervous system. That is the parasympathetic and sympathetic. This is all chapter 14, so it's just kind of knowing the words. But the sympathetic division is the fight or flight response. It innervates other effectors, the smooth muscle, the cardiac muscle, adipose tissue, and glands. It's located in the CNS and PNS. And autonomic ganglia are the location of cell bodies for visceral motor neurons, going to peripheral receptors. Efferent or efferent fibers are outgoing. They carry information from the CNS to the effectors. Somatic effectors are skeletal muscles. Visceral effectors are cardiac and smooth muscle and glands. So we had to learn how to classify neurons based on their structure. That would be anaxonic, bipolar, unipolar, and multipolar. And we classified neurons on their function. That would be sensory neurons, motor neurons, and interneurons. And are unipolar neurons in a tissue sample of the PNS more likely to have a sensory or a motor function? That would be sensory.